Welcome to Hull on Estates, a series of podcasts for the Canadian legal community dealing with issues and insights surrounding estate planning in Canada. Hosted by the lawyers of Hull and Hull, the podcast will touch on some key considerations when planning estates and wills. Now, here are today's hosts.
Hello, I'm Natalia Angelini.
And hi, I'm Raphael Leitz.
Welcome to Hull on Estates. You're listening and watching episode number 651. Today, we're going to be discussing a really interesting case out of British Columbia called Wolk, and we will have the link on our webpage for you. And it's an interesting case looking at the validity of a gift in a will. So Raphael, why don't we dive into the facts?
For sure. So here's like a quick overview of the facts. So this is interesting set of circumstances. There was a deceased who passed away in 2017, wasn't too old, comes from a tragic background, had a lot of substance abuse, mental health issues. And he had, as a background, he was survived by both his parents and two children. Now, throughout his struggles, when he was having these mental health issues and these substance abuse issues, his parents took him back home and provided a lot of support. They helped him through these struggles. And because of that, he left his estate to them in his will.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the support that they gave really helped him get a leg up in life, I guess you would say. He was able to satisfy financial debts. He got custody of his minor, well, I would say his minor child. She wasn't a biological child, but his minor child. And so, as you said, he left a gift to his parents in the will, and the language was a bit ambiguous in terms of the drafting, right? Maybe you can remind us what the drafting looks like.
Yes. So this gift was, he left the entire estate to his parents, but there was a condition to this gift. Essentially, a portion of the gift, he didn't really define it, so that's where the ambiguity comes in, was to be used for the support of his two children, since they were both minors at the time he passed away. But that's where kind of the issue arose, because both these parents, they were also witnesses to the will. And that raises...
And interestingly, he had more than two witnesses to the will, right? There were three or four witnesses to the will.
That was a lot. 3 witnesses is very rare, but there's nothing stopping you from having that many witnesses.
Yeah.
So a little hard fact.
But the unfortunate, the challenge here, right, was that the parents were witnesses, but also the beneficiaries.
Exactly. So that was a direct conflict with the wills legislation in BC, the Wills, Estate and Succession Act, which explicitly sets out that beneficiaries to a gift in a will cannot also be witnesses to that will. So everyone, the interested parties, come before the court, for the judge, and say, hey, you know what, we have these two parents who had a loving relationship, supported their child, and this father who wants to also protect his children now that he's passed away. The formal requirements say this gift is not valid because the parents were also witnesses to the will, and so that raised the risk of the children also not getting financial support. So clearly some solution needed to be found. The gift is formally not valid, but the WESA does permit a court to make judgment and find an invalid gift valid.
And the BC legislation specifically contemplates this kind of scenario when a beneficiary is also a witness, which is interesting because our legislation doesn't go that far.
Yeah, I think like BC legislation is very forward-looking. I think they have a reputation for being a bit of a frontier person in terms of wills and estates legislation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the court looked at this issue and they're like, how can we help everyone here? What's the best solution? So the court was looking at what was the intent behind the gift. And the judge said there was a very clear intent and reasoning which was expressed in relation to the gift. And so that was really critical for the judge's decision to find that the gift was valid and allow the parents to take the money and then support the children.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a sensible outcome in consideration of, the BC legislation and all the specific facts of this case. And, it'll be interesting to see what would happen here in Ontario because up until 2022, we did not have a substantial compliance jurisdiction. Only this year did that come into play, and we've got this ability to try to validate wills that don't comply with all the formalities, and it's so new that we haven't seen a case like this yet. And I'm curious to see what the outcomes of these cases are going to be. I think this next decade, we're going to start seeing a whole slew of cases. And this kind of situation may be one of them, right?
Absolutely. I think Ontario is definitely going to find itself with these kinds of cases arising. They're kind of natural to the circumstances. It'll be interesting because our equivalent legislation, Section 21.1 of the Succession Law Reform Act, it specifically addresses improperly executed documents as a whole. The wording is not very clear if that addresses individual mistakes, such as a gift within a document. So let's keep our eyes open, see what happens. There'll be interesting cases coming up.
Yeah, to be continued from the
For
Ontario
sure.
standpoint. So Raphael, unless you have any other thoughts in terms of this podcast, I think that brings us to the end of our discussion.
Yeah, it was really interesting chatting about this with you.
Yeah, so this concludes our podcast. Until next time, we want to thank you for listening and watching. I'm Natalia Angelini.
And thanks again, and I'm Raphael Leitz.
Should you have any questions, please email us at info@hullandhull.com. Contact us through the contact page on our website. Thank you.
This has been Hull on Estates with the lawyers of Hull and Hull. The podcast you have been listening to has been provided as an information service. It is a summary of current legal issues in estates and estate planning. It is not legal advice, and you are reminded to always talk with a legal professional regarding your specific circumstances. To listen to other podcasts or to leave a question or comment, please visit our website at hullandhull.com. Our theme music is Upper Structure by DJ A Kid and is courtesy of the PodSafe Music Network.